full contingent here for Nelson students and everybody coming in. We're glad to have you here, and this puts us back on our. We have to flip one presentation in terms of the schedule, which puts us back on our regularly scheduled appearances groups. For the Nelson groups, as you come in, a couple of things. The groups are taking turns. We'll see kind of how these guys are going back and forth. You'll see one introduction, the other introduction, and then the argument slides back and forth, and then the conclusions back and forth. After you've done your conclusion slide, once we get into questions, please flip over to your cited slides, and you'll see that, and kind of follow along with that. So one thing, just a reminder, and again to Nelson students and everybody, please speak to the back of the room. So you need to be projecting as much as possible because as Alan said, this room really kind of sucks up the sound. So it's hard to hear kind of back there. So you want to make sure that you're projecting as much as possible. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our next presentation. If teachers are ready, everybody good to go? All right, we're going to be hearing about nuclear power, and the pros are going to be starting this presentation. So please welcome them all.
The U.S. Subcommittee on Domestic Energy needs to provide whether to subsidize the first nuclear power plant to be built in 5 years or to redirect that money into other energy sources. So behind you see the first nuclear power plant built in 1967 in Shippingport, Pennsylvania. Nuclear energy was first introduced during World War II for the atomic bomb, and then the federal government decided to take that research and put it towards civilian purposes. This led to the creation of the Atomic Energy Commission in 1946. We will now present to you the advantages of nuclear energy, such as lower mortality rates, higher employment, better efficiency, and experimental purposes.
Hello, I'm Jared Knights.
I'm Henry Pritchard. I'm Emma Levendick. And I'm Lauren Reynolds.
And these are the cons of nuclear energy. Nuclear energy was first conceptualized before World War II, but the first self-sustaining nuclear demonstration was initiated on December 2nd, 1942 at Chicago University. It was originally intended to be used as a weapon or energy source during World War II, but after the war, the focus changed more to domestic power generation.
In the deserts of New Mexico in 1945, the United States successfully tested the first nuclear bomb. This remarkable breakthrough gave the United States the power to destroy an entire city if need be. This discovery allowed us to create nuclear weapons and began a new age of efficient energy production.
While it is true that nuclear energy has its benefits, there are also several negative long-term and short-term effects of nuclear energy. Resources are expensive. There's no long-term waste storage solution. Disasters can be extremely dangerous, and it can cause terrible health effects on humans and the environment.
One of the most compelling reasons for the adoption of nuclear energy over fossil fuels is the lower mortality rates. A study by the NASA Goddard Institute of Technology has estimated that over 1.84 million deaths have been prevented by using nuclear power instead of fossil fuels. Coal-fired reactors have an average of 28.54 deaths per terawatt hour, which is an hour of consistent energy output. Nuclear reactors, by comparison, only have a death rate of 0.074, which is obviously many, many times lower.
The resources required to use nuclear energy are extensive. It's expensive, takes up a large amount of land, takes a lot of materials to build, and is difficult to construct. Nuclear power plants and nuclear reactors are also relatively expensive to build and maintain. Most estimates put the cost of building a single reactor today at between $9 and $15 billion. Furthermore, one of the most common sizes of nuclear power plants are 1,000 megawatt facilities, which take over 1 square mile of land. Fuel accounts for less than 28% of the total cost it takes to build nuclear power plants because the materials alone are so expensive. If the exact amount of right materials aren't used or construction is even slightly off plan, there's a greatly increased risk of mechanical failure and human error. The logistics of nuclear power are so complicated that it makes it much harder to build them 100% correctly. Plants are also commonly shut down within decades of being built because they either become too difficult to maintain or too dangerous to operate. There are currently 99 plants in the U.S., but only 61 of them are commercially operating. Plans have been proposed to build safer facilities, but these facilities cost far more, at between $15 and $25 billion each.
According to the Nuclear Energy Institute, each nuclear power plant employs nearly 530 employees per plant, which essentially helps to create more jobs for the people that are unemployed. This includes people to construct the plant, such as carpenters, electricians, welders, and to run a plant, such as accountants, health physicists, chemical and medical engineers, and of course to provide power safely for a plant, such as reactor operators, radiation protection specialists, and chemists and mechanics, and also, to provide power for gas and wind energy employs only 50 employees, which is practically nothing compared to the amount that nuclear energy provides. And 190 people are employed for coal, and hydroelectricity employs 100 to 450, and solar employs 470. Even though some of these numbers are quite close to the amount that nuclear energy provides, there's still many more people that can be employed for nuclear energy, which and thus helping to stimulate the economy and helping to shore.
Also, waste management presents a problem as to where to store the byproducts of a nuclear reaction. Nuclear generators create 20 metric tons of waste per year, and since the 70s have created 77,000 metric tons of waste in the US alone. Now, that waste has to be stored somewhere, causing a dilemma as there are limited waste storage solutions. Some solutions include on-site and permanent waste storage facilities. In addition, the waste is difficult to transport as it can easily contaminate the things it comes in contact with, creating even more waste. The waste is toxic and can easily escape the confines of a storage tank. This has happened in Hanford, Washington, where several leaks were discovered in multiple storage tanks. Also, the waste requires large amounts of land to store, registering that land used to store the waste unusable for building or housing. Three waste storing facilities were proposed in 1987, but multiple have been shut down, making WIPP in New Mexico the only place that the U.S. currently stores their waste.
To put it simply, nuclear power is very efficient. For example, most nuclear power plants operate at an average 91% capacity, meaning that they are actively producing energy 91% of all possible time. For perspective, coal-fired plants, on the other hand, operate at an average 53% capacity, which is just tiny and ridiculous and unsustainable compared to the incredible efficiency that nuclear power uses. Furthermore, nuclear power is very efficient in terms of resources. 1 gram of nuclear fuel, that is uranium, can produce as much energy as 3 tons of coal. 1 gram to 3 tons. Nuclear power is literally millions of times more efficient than coal energy, and even fossil fuel energy and newer solar, wind, and hydroelectric facilities. Nuclear power will also be very advantageous to humans in the future, especially as our reserves of coal and fossil fuels are depleting much more quickly than our reserves of uranium.
One of the major problems with a nuclear power plant is the potential for reactor meltdown. Reactor meltdowns, when the nuclear reactor overheats and becomes unstable, are rare, but they can be disastrous. If the reactor is not shut down in time, it will explode. This occurred in the Chernobyl power plant reactors on April 26, 1986. The explosion within Chernobyl is one of the worst of our time, and shows the cost of the mistake made within the nuclear reactor. The explosion killed 28 workers and gave another 106 radiation sickness. In addition, the Nuclear Energy Agency found that radiation released in the explosion contaminated 125,000 square kilometers of land. Out of the 125,000 kilometers contaminated, 52,000 were used for food production. The radiation release also killed an entire forest southwest of Chernobyl, now known as the Red Forest because of the red-colored dead tree. 335,000 people living in the area were evacuated and lost their homes. Nuclear reactor meltdowns aren't common, but when they do happen, they can be catastrophic, and the risk of another Chernobyl looms larger wherever a nuclear reactor is built.
So far, we've talked about nuclear power plants, but there are also other types of reactors, such as research reactors. Research reactors are used for training, testing, research, and the production of radioisotopes for medicine and industry. It also opens a variety of different fields, such as archaeology, biology, geology, and medicine. Most of these reactors are located on campuses or colleges because of the fact that it opens up a variety of different fields. There are such as the techniques they use in these fields, in these facilities, are neutron scattering, such as how radiation bounces off of different types of materials, neutron analysis, which detects small traces of materials, specifically for environmental pollutants, and neutron radiography, which is like medical x-rays, but to test the structural soundness of certain types of materials. Not only are these reactors used for experimental purposes, but they're also fairly safe. They have monitors that monitor how much gas and pollutants are released into the environment, and they have fail-safe structures that before the reactors reach dangerous temperatures, they shut down.
Additionally, nuclear power can cause many negative health effects on both workers and citizens in the power plant area. Uranium miners are overexposed to radon, which can be very harmful to the body if taken in large amounts. Radon is known to cause lung cancer, an often fatal disease. In 1997, there were 65 cases of lung cancer reported in uranium miners in the Colorado Plateau. Nuclear energy also causes contamination of the environment, which harms humans and other living organisms. As a result of the Chernobyl reactor's meltdown in 1986, milk in the area was contaminated with radioactive iodine. Children who drank this milk received doses of radiation to their thyroid glands. And as of 2008, 6,000 cases of thyroid cancer were reported in these children. And in 1986 alone, 28 people died of acute radiation sickness. The radiation from Chernobyl also caused a large cancer epidemic in that region. And several days after the meltdown, radiation monitors 800 miles away showed radiation levels 40% higher than the Mission event.
In conclusion, nuclear power is very advantageous to us. First of all, it provides many more job opportunities, and it causes fewer deaths each year, both as a result of safer working conditions and fewer carbon emissions. Nuclear power is also incredibly efficient. Remember the 1 gram to 3 tons. And not only is nuclear power being used to produce energy for homes and other facilities, but it's also being used to develop and research in fields such as medicine and archaeology. Back to our scenario, we encourage the U.S. Subcommittee on Domestic Energy to recommend that the federal government subsidize the first construction of a nuclear power plant in the United States in 5 years. Thank you.
In conclusion, nuclear power is an extremely powerful source of energy used worldwide. However, it also presents many environmental, technical, and functional risks. These risks often result in many plants being shut down, decommissioned, and abandoned over select amounts of time.
While the United States plans its future in energy production, it is important to take into consideration the cons of using nuclear power. Nuclear power uses many resources, does not have an effective waste management program, and perpetrates potential disasters and can lead to negative health effects. Therefore, because of the dangers it poses to the environment and to humans, along with the extensive amount of resources it uses, it is our recommendation the United States Subcommittee on Domestic Energy direct money into research on other alternative energy sources.
Questions for either side? Yes, we're starting evaluation, we got questions. Ms. Knight?
So I have a question for each group. For the pro group, the common group mentioned waste storage was a problem. In your research, did you find anything to suggest that that problem was being addressed?
There were certain types of, there was dry casket storage, which buries them very deeply, and to later dispose of the waste. And there were also recycling of the waste instead of permanently taking it into the ocean or other types. And a lot of different countries are going into that, reusing and trying to repurpose it into different ways.
And for this group, you mentioned decommissioning of nuclear power plants. So it's a two-part question. What's the average lifespan of a nuclear power plant, and do you know how many have been decommissioned or are scheduled to be decommissioned?
So the average lifespan, generally, the nuclear power plants contracts will run out after 40 to 60 years, but they are generally shut down after about 99 minus 61 is 29. 38, and that's how many nuclear power plants have been decommissioned.
Okay.